This is a breath practice, but I like to remind people that breath is movement. So sometimes we think, oh, it goes in a category like breathing techniques or breathing practices, but breath is movement. And how well we're breathing impacts how well we're moving. This video is geared towards my clients who are rehabbing or are moving through chronic issues where the energy might feel a little low, and our movement practice really needs to wrap around the healing process. However, I've taught hundreds of people, and I've yet to meet one person, myself included, who breathes in the most optimal way for a human being. And there's lots of reasons why we lose our beautiful natural breath, but the great news is that we can practice it and we can strengthen our understanding of it and create a lot more support for ourselves. So we're gonna get going. I invite you to place one hand on your chest and one hand on the low belly. And I'd like you to imagine you have another set of hands on your back. And then could you imagine that you've got another set of hands and they are around the chest area, kind of in the armpit area, and yet another set of hands down right above the hip bones. Let's take a breath in. And when you take that inhale, notice which hands you breathe into first and which hands you breathe into the most. And then just exhale. Let's do that a few more times. So the first thing we want to notice is, how do I breathe? So before me, tell you, hey, let's do this, let's do that, it's really important to understand where we are ourselves without judgment, because there's no good or bad. Everything's there for a reason, okay? We just want to notice it. It's like having that map and there's that little red dot that says you are here, and then you know how to get to where you want to go. All right, let's get back to it. So let's take another breath in, noticing which hands you breathe into, and then exhale. Now, what does it feel like to breathe evenly into all of these hands? I invite you to slow down, taking that awareness in to this sensory experience of your breath moving your body. So our breath can help us find our center, can help us to create a sense of support and even structure inside of us. Let's do 2 more breaths, breathing evenly into all of these hands. Where does your breath travel to? And then you're just going to let that go, bringing your hands to your thighs. Now we're going to add a little movement of our torso to this, because we're going to practice playing with a little tone. So as you exhale, see if you can just soften down. It might feel like slouching. Slouching's kind of a collapse, like there's, oh, how do I pick myself up? This is more of a condensing. It's like a snuggling into yourself. And there's the chair underneath of you. And can you feel like you're moving towards that chair? And then pushing away, flowing upwards. And you could do an inhale, just invite you to not force the breath at all. So it could be this very soft inhale. And then as you're exhaling, it's a condensing in, snuggling in. It's to self, it's to center. There is a psychophysical reality to everything we do. There is expression to our movement. It's not just this mechanical thing that we do. And when we're able to have practices like this, these somatic practices that remind us of this, it helps us to come home to ourselves. It helps us to release holding patterns. So it can actually help decrease pain or aches and pains. It can give you a sense of empowerment. We're going to do 2 more of these. Condensing. You actually move inwards. So those hands that were on your body, they're coming in closer. And then a little push off of your seat, and can you expand into all of those hands and then go beyond? And I'm doing this with my arms if you want to join me. I want you to imagine you've got like this circle around you, even in the back. You're moving out towards the back and the sides. And then condensing. You can use your inhale, your exhale, or just let your breath breathe. So this is tone. This is like condensed, weighted. I can feel myself and how I relate to the earth. And then this, this is expanding. I find my buoyancy, I find my spaciousness and how I can relate to the environment around me, the space around me. How about one more? So this is very fluid. And here we go. Because if we've, had an injury or a surgery or, something that's been chronic for a long time, whether that's an illness or a diagnosis of something, we tend to move less. And we also might have a lot of feelings of fear, anxiousness, the unknown. That translates into tone. So, anxiety is that real tight body, and depression is, I just can't do it anymore. And so this practice helps us bring ourselves into more balance. And we did it ourselves. So then I just invite you to find the center of that. You can feel that you're weighted. You can feel your roots. But you can also feel this expansiveness, all of this potential, all of this aliveness, this flow of energy through the body. Let's take a few more breaths in and out just to conclude this. Your inhale, expanding you. Your exhale, condensing you. One more time. Your breath is movement. Do you feel yourself moving? Beautiful movement practice, and it counts just as much, even probably way more so than a fancy handstand or, some nice deep squats. It's part of our foundation. Fabulous. Thanks for joining me.